Aloha, y'all. So, just wrapped up shooting some ultra spiritual videos with JP, and I had a call right before that with my friend from Poland who's attended some radical honesty retreats, and he was asking me my perspective and advice on when doing radical honesty type of experiences or talk therapy in a circle, and when someone might, how that can trigger a lot of trauma, stored trauma, and the best way to deal with that as a facilitator. And by the way, am I coming in clear? I see some people are joining in. I would love to see where you're checking in from. And if you want to do, I'm going to do a breathing exercise basically. And if you want to, in the meantime, grab a mat or find a nice, comfortable seated position somewhere to join me, I would love to. But I'll give a little bit more context before actually beginning the breathing and macrodosing on oxygen and getting high on life. But yeah, let me know if y'all can hear me and where you're checking in from, and if you've ever done this type of breath work, and if you've ever been part of a radical honesty retreat, a tribe design, a Rob Ross retreat, any type of this group therapy type of work, therapeutic group type of work. It's pretty amazing and very effective. And I was basically telling them, I used an example. So at our last event, there was someone that a lot was getting brought up, and it seemed, from my perception, and keep in mind, I've been doing this type of group work for over about 10 years now, and using honesty to trigger stored trauma, and then using other modalities to reharmonize and to let go of what doesn't serve us any longer, and take in new life, and realize that we all have a clean slate all the time. Clean slate, just like an extra sketch. Shake it up, you know, a clean slate. A lot of people are pretending they're like trying to draw on a board, but they're not erasing all the drawings from the previous years. They're not serving them anymore. So in my opinion, this type of breathing is a great way to not only remind ourselves of the clean slate that we always have, but it's a great thing to do earlier in the day and actually create a clean slate in our body to make sure that there's no stagnant air left in the bottom of our lungs. It would be metaphorical to, instead of, if you imagine you've got a car and you've been fueling it with crappy fuel or the lowest grade fuel, and now you're ready to upgrade it to premium fuel. If you don't empty the tank fully, that premium fuel is going to be diluted by the old fuel that still hasn't completely left. So this is a great modality of, as my friend was asking, how do you help people process that trauma? This is a great way to do it. And it could be argued that everyone has PTSD of some certain sorts, whether it's when your parents didn't want to pick you up when you wanted to be picked up as a child, or whether it's something more extreme to sexual abuse. And I love doing this type of breathing almost every day in the morning. Highly inspired by, I got to meet Wim Hof. We both spoke at Bulletproof years ago. Well, it's also known as like holotropic breathing. It's basically also known as like getting in touch with the remote control of our brain and our body, which is our breath, and realizing that how vital breath work is, and gets us more curious about what is our breath and where does it come from and what does it mean. And I think it's pretty on brand, considering I've now I'm known as the Om Daddy. Speaking of, I would love to Om real quick if y'all want to Om with me, and then I'll take you through your breath set. It'll probably take 15 minutes or so, and even if only do it for 5 minutes, that'd be well worth it. So let me know where you're joining in from. I see some people commenting. It sounds like I'm coming in. That's awesome, Spence. Yeah, what I would do, Spence, if you want to sit down and do these breathing with me, it's pretty profound, and it's a rich ritual, if you ask me. So let's do an Om. We'll start by breathing out, and see how I'm asking you to breathe out first. Realize that it can be argued for humans that we get what we give, metaphorically and sometimes almost strikingly direct. So if we want to have a full breath, breathe out first. I think most people, when they think breathing, they breathe in first. And I've also heard that if anyone's ever like in an impact sports, or if you ever have an impact in the future, to breathing out on impact can be arguably a lifesaver. So all the way out, we're gonna breathe all the way in for Om. Oh. And that right there, man, if you're at an experience where a lot of trauma is being triggered, for a minute to 2 minutes to 10 minutes to an hour, and that'll get some things moving. It has very calming effects and very mystical effects. It's argued it's the sound of the universe. It's argued it's what's the baby sounds in the womb, what the baby hears in the womb. Okay, so what we're gonna do is the breathing sets. I'm gonna do 3 sets, I believe, right? For at least 3 sets. And what it is, I'm gonna do 33 breaths. And you all may have joined with me this before, but if you've seen me and you haven't joined, this is your moment. Do it now. Do it now while the vision is clear. Do it now while the feeling is here. Paul McCartney. Check out that song, Do It Now. What it's gonna look like is we're gonna do, almost imagine you're running up a mountain and looking to intake as much oxygen as possible. So it's almost a forced inhale with the least amount of muscle possible. So when we flex our muscles, we burn oxygen. So this is really a practice in silence and listening and stillness. And silent and listen are spelled with the same letters, by the way. Same with God and dog, and same with mom and wow, if you do them upside down. All right, so there's some silly jokes before we get started. So what it's gonna look like is this. I'm gonna be breathing like this. And you wanna keep your back as flat or as straight as possible while sitting as tall as possible, but being as relaxed as possible as well. And the inhale is forced and the exhale is relaxed. And so however you can get the most amount of oxygen in with the least amount of effort, and then just relax the exhale. So it's like, and the deeper you can start the breath, maybe more in your root or your belly, and then work your way up, that's good, but I wouldn't get too technical about it. How can you get the most, like if you're a straw, if your body is a straw, how can you suck in the most amount of oxygen and then just relax? And we're gonna do 33 breaths. On the 33rd breath, on that 33rd exhale, relax the exhale. Don't force it. It's not like, it's like, you're gonna hold your breath as long as possible. And this is where we get to really practice the power of stillness and see how impactful it can be, because even flexing your face muscles will make a difference. You won't be able to hold your breath as long if you move your face muscles more. The stiller you can be, the longer you can hold your breath. So, but before we begin, if anyone wants to share this video, please do. I would love for you to share, because I think one of the biggest shifts, or the massive shifts we can make in global consciousness, is getting people to become more aware of their breath. And I know the voting meme has been talked about a lot lately, but I think the most important vote we can make is with every breath we take and what we're doing with it. And I think this is one of the best ways to make the most out of our breaths. And it's a great freaking immune booster. Oh man, I think it's so good for the immune system, so good for the nervous system, so good for every cell in our body. And one more angle on this is, you know, people can go a long time without food, argued 40 days plus, a good bit of time without water. I don't know how many days, I don't know what the record on that is, I'm not too interested in finding it out myself, but much longer than someone can go without oxygen. What's the oxygen record? I mean, I think I've held my breath for 5 minutes once, I think. It got a little blurry, but 4 to 5 minutes. After that, it gets pretty intense. So why don't we really honor what are arguably our biggest needs are? Oxygen, and then water, food, sleep, connection, passion. Not the number of likes that we get on Facebook post, or how many followers we have on Instagram, or how much numbers are on our bank account screen. Those are all fun symbols, but those are not as vital for our vitality as oxygen is. So I love doing this exercise in like awesome places in nature with great oxygen, and then polar plunging right afterwards. But do not do this in the water, please. And do it next to a soft ground, because you might, if someone that hasn't done this and they're not familiar with the feeling of getting super high on life and oxygen, you might even get a little dizzy or feel buzzy or want to pass out. But all it's oxygen. And it's not forcing an exhale. Forcing an exhale is a different technique. I think it's called like washing carbon dioxide that divers use, and that's a little bit more of a dangerous situation. I would recommend really understanding what you're doing before experimenting with that. But this is more, a lot of people have been doing this for a long time and having amazing results. So it's basically breathing. So if y'all want to breathe in with me, I'm so ready to start. We'll do 33 breaths, and on the 33rd breath, just let it out and be as still as you possibly can, and see what you see with your eyes closed. And feel when your body is supercharged. All right, you ready? We're going to start in 3, 2, 1. And I take a deep breath in, and I tighten my abs and push the cerebral fluid all the way up to my third eye and squeeze. And hold it for like 10, 15 seconds. Okay, so that would technically be what like my first set usually looks like. And I think my breath hold on the out breath was like 1.5 minutes or so, 1:40 maybe. Does anybody have any questions before we begin the next one? The next one I might actually even lay down halfway through. So as you saw, that was 33 breaths and we held the out breath. This time, what I'm suggesting to do is to do the first half of the 33 breaths sitting up, the second half laying down, and instead of holding the out breath, hold the in breath. And don't hold it huge, because if you hold a huge in breath, like that takes some pressure, that takes some muscle to hold that in. So take the deepest breath you can hold in with the least amount of effort on that 33rd breath. So does that make sense? We're gonna hold the in breath this time. And I'll tell you, if someone's dealing with trauma, and it's argued that we all are in some ways or the other, maybe different levels and different degrees for different people, this is a great freaking daily practice. Arguably one of the best I've ever experienced. Does your body still get tingly, or is it just because I'm giving my body more oxygen? For some reason, they won't let me see the full comment. Yes, my body does get tingly every once in a while. It definitely in the beginning, I think it would get a lot more tingly. So it's almost like any drug. Same with oxygen. And it could be argued that we are drugs. What's up?
You doing a live video?
Yeah, why?
I think I'm gonna do the coffee line for the back strap and something different for the
Okay, but that's the back strap of the hog, isn't it?
Oh, it is?
I believe so.
It's so red it looks like deer.
Oh, it might be the deer.
I think it's the deer.
Okay, awesome. Having a party at night, and I'm getting to provide the tribe with some wild game that I went out and got myself. All right, so 15 or so breaths in, sitting up straight, relaxed, 15 or so laying down, and then this is like Shavasana, man. This is like, you want to go deep. This is where I've held my breath, I think, for up to 5 minutes on this one. So ask any questions during those 5 minutes, especially if you're not doing the breathing, but I would suggest you get on your butt and do this with me. Do it now. You all ready? 33 breaths. Here we go. Oh, and I'm putting a jacket on because it's a little chilly outside, and I want to be comfortable. I don't want to be like, because that takes oxygen. It takes oxygen to shiver. And this is, once again, a practice in stillness. There's a big difference when some action is taking place from a place of stillness versus just doing activity. I heard my friend Elliot Holst talking about this on his Instagram story yesterday, that, like, look at a cat, especially a wild cat, whether it's a lion or a tiger or a puma or a jaguar. They're not doing much activity, but when they do activity, it's freaking action packed. And that's the difference between, I think, like manic activity versus inspired action. So I think the better we can find stillness, the better we can find inspired action. All right, so here we go. 33 breaths, half sitting up, half laying down. So that was 3:45. And what I usually like to do from this is just completely transition to doing another breath set, laying down the whole time, and then holding the out breath like we did the first time. Does that make sense? I'm gonna go straight to that. An awesome, Sylvia. I bet you this is a way of lucid living for sure. It's a great way to start lucid living. Here we go. So I'm gonna do 33 like this. Good stuff. Okay, so now the final set. Now that's what we call the yin breathing. We just flooded our body with oxygen, love, awareness, consciousness. Whew. Am I coming in clear? It's saying I have a low signal. I'm not sure why. Let me do that and see if that helps. All right, so this is where things get a little bit more intense. We're going to now go back to the original breath set, what we did in the beginning. Remember the 33 breaths and then let it go on the out breath and held our breath as long as possible? We're going to do that, but we're going to do that while we do as many push-ups as we possibly can. And this is where some real movement can happen. This is where some real trauma can be passed. This is where some real esoteric experiences can happen. This is where some real breakthroughs can happen. Pay very close to the attention to the ideas that happen during these type of movement. All right, so we're gonna do 33 breaths and do on the out breath, remember 33 forced inhales, relaxed exhales, and on the final relaxed exhale, hold that and do as many push-ups as you possibly can. Here we And this is not a time to hide what your body wants to do. Okay. That concludes the first segment of my breathing. I think, does anyone want to continue on the next part, the yang breathing? Let me know if you do. And I'll leave the video going. What I'll do in the meantime, is do just some basic yogic breathing, but this is not going to be breathing like they tell you to breathe in yoga class. This is going to be breathing intensely and flexing every muscle in your face, like everyone will be like a lion's breath. So instead of, and this is also, these are a lot of muscles, a lot of micro muscles in our face, and flexing them can also help us shed the skin of what's no longer serving us and really remember who we are, which we're wild. We are wild beings. Don't forget it. Don't let the domestication of education or the lies of the television are broadcasting into people's homes fool anybody. Some people might want mass amounts of people sedated, but you don't have to be a part of them. So we'll do a stretch like this, and so I'm gonna be breathing in and then to take it farther, I'm gonna do a big lion's breath. I'm gonna do 3 on each stretch, so you can join me on this, your own version of it. Here we go. Get the tongue out there. The muscle that's the most connected, I think, to our brain is our tongue, if I'm not mistaken. And it might also be arguably the strongest muscle in our body per square inch. So use it. It's also good for relationships. Not only so we can speak correctly, but for other intimacy. Here we go. Make your eyes all crazy. And then both together. I'm looking at some of your comments. First time tuning in. You're amazing. Thank you for all. Oh, awesome. Yes, yes, yeah. Do this. Make this a daily ritual. Do it your own way too. A little butterfly. Same kind of crazy breathing. Remember. So it's like. Oh, and that's something to keep in mind too, the moaning and groaning. JP's in there shooting a video right now, so I'm not going to do it too loud, and he has neighbors. I don't want to scare too much. But when I was talking to my friend today about helping people process trauma at their retreats and stuff, a lot of moaning and groaning and yelling and screaming and singing and dancing definitely help. Definitely can help a lot of people, especially if they haven't done it in a while. Like, can you imagine a woman giving birth without screaming? Well, it seems like some people are in pain and they're not screaming about it because they don't want to be embarrassed or something. Shit, screaming out. Go to the freaking ocean and scream as loud as you can until you're, without hurting your throat, until you feel complete. Do whatever you need to do. Punch a pillow. I mean, go run sprints. Suppression is synonymous with depression, okay? All right, so then, there we go. Or suppression maybe, or maybe depression is birthed from suppression. Maybe. And to consider, there's lots to consider with this breathing. 1 second, let me finish this part. On the note of suppression and depression, I think a lot of people, one of the reasons, I would say, I'm curious if the most amount of human suffering comes from people thinking they experience the same emotion more than once. I know they have categories, but don't let those categories fool you. Those are like words. They point towards the truth, but they don't tell the whole picture. I would argue that the truest of truths might not be a word, and it may not even be able to be spoken. So to remember, like, this experience you're doing, making this a daily ritual can bring up new feelings and emotions and energy every day. It's not just checking in and checking out of work, doing the same thing every day. This is a great way to play with ourselves and rewild our inner child, to re-child our inner wild. And if you don't have to take my word for it, go watch any child that hasn't been biased or brainwashed by culture yet. Okay, we'll do a little kind of cobra here. First without the hands, and remember the face. Remember that the face is very important in this. Then we'll do an upward dog. And then we'll do child's pose, and then we're gonna move on to the yang breathing portion. All right, trust y'all are feeling good. Do what you want to do. Remember, you don't need to follow me and everything. You mix your own movements into this. Do what your body wants to do. Okay, so now we're gonna do the yang breathing. All right, this is what it's gonna look like. And this involves like tapping and stuff, and cold water. I got my cold water right there. It's coming next. I prefer like freezing rivers in Idaho to a pool, and I prefer being in harmony with my environment. All right, so this is a kind of a cool thing. You're gonna tap your head. That bush right there. Let me move this a little bit more. You're gonna tap from your top of your head to around your neck, and don't be afraid of tapping. I mean, I'm talking about hitting it, slapping it, spanking it. Get some energy in every centimeter of your head. You know, it can be said that some people don't really know what life is about until they get punched in the face. Well, maybe we don't need to get punched in the face. Maybe we can explore what our body feels like when we play with it and slap it ourselves. Maybe you can feel the fluid that surrounds your brain. Maybe you can feel the blood pumping through your neck. Maybe you can feel your lymph nodes. Okay, now you're done with that. You're going to put your hands towards the sky, and you're going to force your elbows into your obliques and breathe out of your nose as hard as you can. So before we were breathing in as much as we can, now we're forcing an exhale. So this is like the yang, the penetrating, the pushing, whereas the other one was the receiving, the taking in, the feminine, the yin. This breathing is based on all kinds of things I've learned. Someone asked me what it's called. I would call it right now in this moment, breaking normal yin and yang breathing. The breaking normal yin and yang breathing ritual. Highly inspired by many people that I've mentioned in the video. So we're going to do this 33 times, forced in there, and then you're going to feel a profound sense of energy, and be as still as you can possible with that energy, and think and feel, more important than thinking about them, feel 2 things that you're extremely grateful for that you currently have, whether they're people in your life or whatever it is, 2 things that you're extremely thankful for in your life right after doing this, and feel that into your bones, into the marrow of your bones, into the blood cells that are in your heart, to the cells circulating in our brain. Like a real straw, a real like, thank you, gratitude going through our body, because I do believe gratitude might be one of the most important emotions, especially if we want to get more, because if we're not grateful for what we currently have, what business do we have getting more? All right, so this is what it looks like. We're gonna do 3 sets of these, and we'll be pretty much a wrap, and I'm gonna get in the water afterwards and realize that I have a clean slate all the time. Cool. Any questions on that? So then we're going to tap from where we left off to our waistline. And this is fun. Definitely get the armpits, the kidneys, the adrenals, under the pecs, places that may have not received much light in a while. I mean, the idea, there's this adage that sometimes a chain is only strong as its weakest link. Well, if we're hiding parts of our bodies, it might be time to start highlighting them. Feature our flaws to find out our flaws are our features. When we step into a new level of self-acceptance through self-expression, a new level of authenticity rather than seeking approval outside of ourselves. Come on, let's keep breaking normal. And if anyone is inspired by what we're going over here, definitely check out Breaking Normal on Audible. And leave me a review, and then we can have an 11-minute chat about it. Regardless, we can have an 11-minute chat, but I would love to do it right after the review. Okay. By the way, what's y'all's favorite books? Any good books? I started a new one recently. It's blowing my mind. I think it's like the Master Key System or something. Something about 28 questions and answers. And don't be scared to hit yourself hard. It might hurt. Maybe people, it could be said that true suffering is not experiencing pain, but avoiding it. So can we consciously bring sensations into our body that we used to describe as pain and transmute them and alchemize them to pleasure? Seems like that's when Deanna gave birth to Davina, I've never seen the veil between pain and pleasure, life and death as thin as I did during the birthing. And I think that's something to consider, that we're all being reborn all the time. Literally, our cells are being reborn right now. We're not the same person as we were a second ago, especially not the same person we were years ago. I trust you're not one of those people that get offended if someone says you've changed. I hope you're changing. All right, I'm going to do a little different angle here so I'm not pounding the tree. How could I do this? I think this will work. I'm so curious who's doing this with me and what y'all's results are. All right, so this time after the 33 breaths, think of it's one thing you're extremely thankful for you have, and one thing you're thankful for that's coming. So like remembering the future, like being thankful for what you have in the present, and then thankful for remembering what's happening in the future and really feeling it. Like, trust me, if you guys can experience the best moment of your life right now with whatever you're doing, you're much more likely to continuously experiencing the best moment of your life regardless of your environment. Here, you can bring your own weather with you. Okay, so now, I just pulled my pants off. We're gonna basically do I'm gonna keep my boxers on, but it's important to do the skin on skin contact, I would say. So now we're gonna smack from the waist down. Make sure you get the butt cheeks, maybe sure you get between the butt cheeks. Won't be a little breaking normal about that. Behind the knees, for sure. And this is the last set before we get in the water. And this time, in the bottom of the feet. Make sure you get the bottom of the feet. When's the last time you smacked the bottom of your feet? And this time, two things you're thankful for that are coming. So you're remembering the future on two things. Here we go. Okay. Untethered Soul is a good book. Thank you. Any other book recommendations? His other book, have you read The Surrender Experiment? I might even prefer that one. So, now the trick is to get in the cold water twice. Not once, twice. Get in and out. And then get in and out. And then do it again. That's called, I think it's like, the terminology would almost be like recycling in the polar plunging world, Radical leap. Interesting. Oh, thank you, Sylvia. Does anyone have any questions before we end this? I think we're about wrapped up. I'll even take you all in the water with me. I always think that's super cool. If y'all can be patient with me while I change, and then maybe I can hear about anyone else's book recommendations lately. I love, before doing all this, I have other rituals like drinking celery juice, drinking a green drink, listening to audiobooks while walking in the cold, or walking my dog, or playing with my daughter. Cool. Here you go. Oh, Jill, did you read Breaking Normal? Yeah, who's read Breaking Normal in this? And have y'all left a review, because I would love to see it, and then celebrate with a quantum consultation. And do y'all know the iPhone 10 is waterproof? Let's find out if that's true. Yeah, if you're embarrassed to scream out loud, scream underwater as loud as you can. Okay, and hey, thank y'all for all your feedback and how much you're having fun with this. And I would do this for every day for a week and tell me how much amazingness gets amplified in your life. And I so appreciate y'all's gratitude around this, and I'm happy I did it live as well. So if you can go ahead and share this as well, I would really love that. Just give it a share, and like I said, sometimes we get what we give, and if you get good information that's inspiring you, it could be a good duty for you to pass that along. All right, y'all. Much love. Talk to you soon. I'm gonna do one more plunge, and maybe I'll see you in Hawaii for the next tribe design. Let us know.